All right, Cyber Traders, welcome on back here this Monday afternoon, December. Is that 5th or 6th there? I'm losing track of my days already. December 5th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Great to see Michael D still with us here, actually rejoining us perhaps. Great to see Rob F, Rob Ed, and perhaps the rest of us just joining us right now. I'll tell you what, it's kind of hard to swim upstream. I've said that a few times, at least from the morning session, and it certainly goes to show here at the SPY dragging lower and lower and lower. Hey, not as many buying opportunities throughout the whole day today. I'm down like $60 right now, like 57 and change. And I haven't taken a trade since probably I'll say like 11 o'clock, probably before that, like 10:45 to 11 o'clock. So with that, great to see Bill, John, Jeff, and Grant all still with us here, Dan and Phil as well. So, hey, DBGI, we were calling this out, just ended up breaking above 5. This could have led to a nice trade here and could have led to a nice support bounce, at first, but ended up making a lower high, ended up pulling back below within this trend line here. Still, I guess you could say kind of prattling around it. Maybe now this could be support for it to break higher. I'll come back to this even by the end of this meeting. Hey, it's up 30%. It's a lot closer to the highs compared to a lot of different things that are, that we'll go through probably at this point. But, it's dragging back down now at this stage. We'll just come back to this at the end. But though, with that in mind, though, what we'll do is just go right from top to bottom. We'll just pretty much just go right through. A lot of stocks dropping off at the market, as we just alluded to a moment ago. So probably find more on the loser side, but we'll start right from the top here and really kind of skip over these cheapies below $1. They're not penny stocks. They're likely NASDAQ national listed stocks, but we're normally not going to trade anything below $1. All right, TXMD. I saw this pop up on my Benzinga radar throughout the early afternoon. I didn't call it out, though. I didn't type it in the chat board. It was looking kind of low volume at the time, and I guess since it's been pushing up, topped off right around 6, a little bit over 6, and pulled back down a bit from there. So, again, likewise with the DBGI, not fully sold on this, especially with the shakedown now, but I'll come back to it. All right, so DBGI, the TXMD trade, both will kind of like put on the side list. The EH stock, this one ended up having a pretty interesting ladder effect early this morning. Ended up making a nice squeeze up at first. I'll pull up the level 4 for this trade. You'll see what I'm talking about coming up here. I ended up seeing a bunch of icebergs pop up on the bid, and it ended up propelling the stock upward throughout the morning. Really cool example here. So, it started off right around 620-ish, 622, ended up getting pulled from the book roughly prior to 11 o'clock Eastern. And then over time, it's probably just a combination of different orders, not just one in general, but you could see over time where they ended up stacking the bid up and pulling their orders, placing it higher, and it ended up leading to a good squeeze up. Now, with that in mind, I don't know how or why 755 was such a key level today. There wasn't really a big iceberg order that showed up on the ask. So, perhaps that could have been more of a historical level from the past week or past month. We'll take a look in a moment. But yeah, for the meantime, the EH trade still showing a big iceberg on the bid, roughly over that 7 level, right off of 704, 703. Could be one to watch. I don't mind slipping this on the main watch list, at least for right now, just given the volume that's on the order book more than anything. All right, so I didn't take a look at this until right now, so I have no idea how this is going to play out here, folks. But I was wondering all throughout the day today, like why 755? Why was this such a key level? 755, 760. So I'm just going to place a line right off the high there, pretty much here on the daily chart. So what gives? I mean, it looks like it bottomed out here back from March time, right around there, but maybe there's more to it if I zoom out. I got something back from 2020. I mean, really. Oh, all right. So now that explains it. That explains it, pretty fairly, right? Back from 2020, you had to go back on the weekly chart for me on this one, but it ended up bottoming out right around, and look at that, 759 on the freaking nose. Wow. 767 the following week, but over time ended up just generally building off that level and then ran up. So pretty cool to see how that historical level played out today. I really had no idea why that was a key level myself. I didn't really care to check up until right now, honest to God. So, hey, there's always something to learn from here, folks, each and every day. But yeah, the trade for right now, I'll put on our main watch list in hopes of this making another higher low and a pop back up again. All right. I don't know if we're going to find a better example of, support becoming resistance right there, but SHPH going back down the gainer side ended up making a nice pop just before, topped off right around 340, pulled back down. Cold. Hey, this could be a better swing trade coming up this week than a day trade. It's been more of a grinder across the late morning, early afternoon. Not necessarily a fan of that type of like rugged uptrend. So, if you're doing well on it from earlier today, that's nice. But, I wish it was more volatile right now. The IOVA trade bust from this morning. Going to pass on that. The AERC stock, I'd called this out right before this meeting started at least, ended up making a nice pop, broke a new high, but the order book at the time actually was a lot thinner, a lot less liquid compared to actually what you're seeing now. So that's a good sign. I mean, hey, there's more volume that's joined the book, namely a 24,000 share iceberg order on the ask at 415. So I like this trade, AERC. We're familiar with this stock. We did really well on this back from last year, I think. Well, back from June of this year, rather, you could say, but ended up making a big drop off back from end of last year. That's how we remember this stock. And then back from June, ended up making a big pop. Time flies. You just forget all these different stocks when they pop, what date. You got to go back. I mean, pretty much any day where you see a stock trading like millions of shares and made a big move, that us here inside inside the cyber group room had called it out at that point in time. But yeah, I mean, ended up making a huge pop back then. If this can make a fraction of the run that it made for us back in June, then I'll take it. All right, so I don't think we're going to find much more on the gainer side with the way the markets are looking, right? I mean, you got Tilray, actually. Let me just jump to TLRY. Tilray had a nice morning today. This one ended up going against the grain pretty nicely at first. Popped from 465, ended up running up over 5, and from there it's stalled out pretty much, peaked at like 512. CGC, same type of move. The pot stocks have been a good play from the end of last week into today. So keep it in mind for tomorrow. Good sideless stocks to follow day to day. If they're not like really showing much activity in the pre-market, then just don't bother. But if they're showing good uptrends, good moves early in the morning, trading a lot of volume early in pre-market, then I feel like you can keep a small eye on it. All right. I saw a firm get hammered today early this morning. Richard called that out at some point. Obviously, Tops has been like a focus for us here inside the live trading room, mainly from this morning. Ended up getting a huge drop off over, I think it was from this morning, right? If not from Friday afternoon. Yeah, from this morning early, big gap down for the most part. You can call this. Ended up dropping off. It was, I think, off of direct offering news, folks. I think Tops ended up doing like a big direct offering of shares where, in that case, the stock price gets diluted. You end up seeing a big drop off technically percentage wise. But, this ended up making a bit of a dead cat bounce going into the early to mid afternoon. I know one of our students, Rob, had called it out. I'm not a fan of this type of trade right now. I mean, I like the order book. It looks tradable and all of that. So actually that part I do like, but I just don't feel as confident that this is going to make as good of a squeeze as you'd want. I certainly hope so. It ended up making a snap back up towards that 228 level. And one more time, I'll bring up Bookmap just for this, bring up level 4. So on this trade, ended up making the squeeze up. It got halted. And we just talked about this in class, right? In the phase 2 stock course, where we talked about time and sales prints, what happens when the stock market opens up, what happens when the stock market closes, and what happens when a stock gets halted. So very similar. Ended up having the opening halt print, 87,000 share print that got filled at 228. So that created a big level for this trade. Well, since that time, it's been holding under it perfectly. So should it break over 228, is it possible for this to have another run? Yeah, I think it's possible. I mean, I just don't want it to make a false breakout and then for it to get smoked and come right back down below 2 and it tanks. I mean, this stock is kind of known for that. So I'll put this on our watch list reluctantly. If it ends up making the pop over 228, it will have my interest. All right. So Edwin, one of our trial members, just said he got into Boyle just now. Hey, listen, as a trial member, I always just have to say this to anyone. Everyone kind of joins from their own perspective, their own backgrounds, and they have their own accounts. Unless if you're already a very successful, consistently profitable day trader of equities, this being an ETF actually, but of equities of publicly traded companies, stocks, I would, then suggest for you to follow or call outs and whatnot. But if not, and it's okay to say no, because that's the majority of new members that join CTU, we don't want you to lose your shirt. We don't want you to jump into a trade recklessly just because we have it on our watch list as a trial member. Namely, just make sure that you call our office, just schedule an appointment with your education advisor. If you haven't done so already, at least. If you've done that, then perfect. But I'll just type the number to our office just in the chat board there for Edwin, for a couple of us just otherwise that joined us from this afternoon. All right, so Boyle ETF, right? We don't normally trade ETFs here outside of like maybe one or two. UVXY we'll call out every now and then, which actually I should look at on a day like today. Cold, it was kind of a grinder of a move up today. We do, call it out though at times. Uh, Oil, I mean, I'm sure it's going to trade inversely to the cold trade to a degree, right? So, if cold's kind of rugged on the way up, this is kind of rugged on the way down. If you're short on it from earlier, then you're making some good money. But yeah, for right now, I'm not going to focus on this as much. All right. CENX aluminum stock, nice short. At least you could say that, right? I mean, stock on the way down, it is shortable at the low of the day. This is exactly where you'd want to find a stock right now. So I like this trade. My only issue on this one, I wish it was trading more volume. I wish it was trading more volume per minute, trading about 4,000 shares a minute. I mean, a stock that we trade normally is trading a lot more than that per minute, folks. So it's a nice level one stock. It's going to be hard for me to ignore this and not put this on our list. It has a good iceberg order as support here at 817. So, perhaps it can get down there to test that price and see what happens from that point. All right. There's a lot more, though, right? With the market dropping off as much as it has today. A firm, like I'd said, got rocked earlier this morning. So I want to take a look at this one right now again. And it's just off the lows, right? Very similar. So, yeah, AFRM will definitely put on our list. Michael calling out Roblox. These don't like trade together like a firm and Roblox. They're two totally separate companies. But it's interesting because anytime I think of a firm, I just, for some reason, think of Roblox. They just kind of go hand in hand as good volatile sideless stocks. So the second I saw Michael's call out there, I'm like, of course, let's check it out. And yeah, it's kind of right, making the same type of move, right? Roblox. All right, we'll put this on our list as well. Dropping off pretty nicely, pretty steadily with the market. I'm sure we'll find XPEV on this watch list on the loser side at some point. Neo made a big drop off early this morning. It looks kind of weak. I mean, just kind of flat, if anything, not really off the lows, but just kind of sideways here. What else we got? Carvana shortable from TradeStation today. Interesting. This also at the lows. Is this at all-time lows? Getting close. 650 is the all-time low, I believe, back from early November. So, it's getting there. It's definitely getting there. I wouldn't mind putting this on our watch list either. Kind of like the bottom end of our watch list will all be all of the shorts. The firms, CENX, Roblox, Carvana. What else we got? I'm sure we got a lot more that looks like this, folks. I mean, that might not be down as much, but you let me know. NET. This one could be all right. Just got a thin book, so I'm kind of just going to skip over that, I guess, for right now. One of us had mentioned earlier inside the chat board that they were watching a CRK. And at the time, I was saying, hey, it was kind of dropping off steady there. Nice move. Ended up bottoming out right around 1474, 1475, and bounced up a tiny amount. But All right. So with the market down, obviously UVXY is going to be moving up, but it's not as like volatile as we've seen it to be. So just keep that in mind. Everything in perspective, right? I mean, you're not looking for that big explosive dollar move that we've seen this make in like 30, 45 minutes time. So, this definitely is kind of moving a bit slower today. Must be the one ETF we'll throw on our watch list for right now. All right, let me know if there's anything else up, down, left, right, more than that 5%, folks. Probably more on the way down. Let me know if there's anything otherwise that we missed. DBGI bounced back up. Hey, my trend line held. All right, so I said I'd come back to this. And with that in mind, I'll put this back on our watch list here. Nice bounce and move back up. Let's make sure 5 could hold now, namely as a support. 10,000 share order on the bid, actually, right off that price currently. So now or never. No pressure, DBGI. TXMD pulling back, so obviously this one not looking as good now. Andre just asking for my thoughts on the SPY. How about this? This could be something I could do, kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone for all of us on social media, Facebook Live, or namely YouTube. I'll put out a video in the next 48 hours, Andre. How about that? Kind of giving my thoughts on the SPY mid to long term. Couple of things that we'll analyze. All right. Now, keep in mind, we'll also continue that conversation inside our Swing Trading Pro course that we're going to continue next Friday. That should be coming up on, what date is that for us here, all of us live, on the 16th. So on December 16th, Friday, we'll continue the Swing Trading Pro course for those that have access to it. And we'll talk more about some trades that we've had our eye on. And now with the market dropping off, I may just bail out on Uber at this point. It really hasn't made a big squeeze up. So I'm still up like a minuscule amount now at this stage with the drop that we've had. But may as well just jump out, find a better trade. That'll be at 12 p.m. Eastern time, Grant, but that's next Friday. We'll give you all the formal reminders, all the good stuff coming up. It's on the website, though, on our student portal. It's under the calendar right there. I believe that you should see it there on the calendar on the student portal. But again, we'll send out all the reminders. That's like just next week, next Friday. I got plenty of stuff in between. All right. So, folks, for all of us otherwise on social media, there we go. Got a couple call outs right now on YouTube. My apologies right there. Just checking the chat board for the first time there. So a lot of these we did cover. TXMD, SHPH. We didn't necessarily cover this one as much. I don't think we talked about the pop at first, pulled back down a little bit here and now trying to make a move back up and over 3. I want to see a little bit more out of this trade before it gains my trust again. So I'll pass on it. But, inside our live trading room, as Rich jumps back on the mic at 3 p.m. Eastern, then, perhaps if it's moving better at that point. The SATX is just way too thin. I don't even know if this is halted on the way down right now. I don't think it is. There you go. It's not. But that just goes to show how illiquid this stock is. This is a complete gamble stock. We wouldn't advocate anyone in our live trading room to follow this. If anyone makes money on it, God bless. But this is literally rolling the dice, playing the slots, playing blackjack. I kind of like blackjack, but there's a place and a time, right? So now that CRM, last one from one of us on YouTube here, back through the 135 level by Wednesday. I don't have anything to answer that on per se. If we get a sharper bounce within the market by that point, I would assume for CRM to retrace back up to a degree, but I don't really have much thoughts on that as much right now. I apologize. All right, there we go, folks. That was a bit of a lightning round edition right there. So in total, we got 2, 4, 6, 8 different stocks. We got UVXY, which is an ETF, but unless if you have Bookmap or unless if you're super familiar with UVXY, I wouldn't suggest for you to follow it. I'd suggest for you to follow the stocks that are on the watch list. All right. I'm going to post and tweet the list, folks. And then aside from that, I'll be in the chat board up until 3:30. Rich will be on the mic from 3:30, taking you folks going into the market close. If you see something, say something. For all of us on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube, if you have any questions, otherwise, feel more than free to send it over to Josh at c2trading.com if you want to continue the conversation there, or otherwise inside our live trading room, just go right down to the link on the yellow banner below the stream. I'll talk to you folks soon. Take care.
Become a Cyber Group member today. Just click the link below and receive all these amazing products and a world of knowledge for just $9. Do it today.